Hopefully it's working, guys. It is Tuesday, June 21st, 2022 AD. 9:01 a.m. U.S. Pacific Daylight Time. Yeah, the screen was black. Like my heart. Black-hearted. It's 9:01 a.m. U.S. Pacific Daylight Time here in Los Angeles. Gonna have a fun, let's have a loosey-goosey Tuesday show. I'm gonna show you my teeth. And so if you're easily disgusted, I'll tell you when to look away or turn off the screen or go shovel snow or whatever. It'll be early on here. I will talk about Title IX, give you a little history lesson or give myself a history lesson real time alongside you guys. I'm chuckling because Ian Hogg says, Hake must be hungover from Juneteenth. I disavow. Sorry, kids, for repeating such blasphemous rumors. And I'll talk also a bit about evil J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez, sick woman. I know that you're probably not interested in hearing about it, but too bad. You can call in too, guys. And got some super chats to read and your calls. But anyway, guys, let's get right on with the show.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey, guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, how you guys doing? I am fine. I am wearing a Joyful Noise t-shirt. It sounds like it's supposed to be a Christian group, but they're not very Christian. But I like the t-shirt. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord. But they seem to not have very Christian values. It's a music label. I disavow their values. So, you know, it is Tuesday, guys. Hope you are all doing well. And you can call in 888-775-3773. Again, a loosey-goosey Tuesday show, I think. Let's start right off. This is where you might want to cover your eyes, faint of heart people. You lame-os. No, I'm kidding around. I wouldn't blame you. There will be a side of blood. My dentist yesterday, you all were praying for my beta teeth. My dentist said, very weak tooth. Or maybe he just said weak tooth. And we all know that weak is another word for beta. So, indeed, dentist confirmed beta tooth. Shameful. Hake teeth, not fake teeth. So, a little flashback. I have clip 14A from like about a month ago. This is my broken tooth footage from May 29th, 38 seconds long. Cover your eyes. If you're easily grossed out by the sight of a broken tooth. Here it is. Have a look. This is what it was in beginning of June or late May when it first broke. My back right molar, lower molar, broke. Look at this. Gross. So there it is. You can see like it's hollowed out. It has a filling, but on the front inside corner of the tooth, it just popped right off, and I must have swallowed it. I was eating pistachios. Not the shells. I was not eating the shells. You're not supposed to eat pistachio shells, right? So look at that. Look. Excellent video camera footage by yours truly. Am I yours truly? You can see the gunk. It's all black inside. I don't know what that is. Not all black, but kind of cool. And then that part that was sharp, I had to take a file with my Swiss Army knife and file that down. And it started to smell like, when the dentists work on your tooth, it started to smell like that, And so fast forward to clip 11. You guys like clip 11? This is footage from last night. I got a temporary crown there, but he did a lot more work than just pop on a little temporary crown. He ground it down so that it only had one wall of tooth, but then he built it up and then put the crown on. But he also like ground down the bone, so like I'm a little swollen. And here it is. Look at my temporary crown and bloody gums. Cover your eyes. Faint of heart. People who faint at the sight of blood. And they gave me sutures, too. He gave me sutures, which is another word for stitches. You know when they put fishing line and put your gums together? Look at this. It's like 1 minute and 45 seconds long, so cover your eyes. Pretty nice little replacement crown. He ground that down so my bite was still good. Pretty nice, huh? And you can see this. There's a string in the back there. You can see the blood around the gums right there. Pardon the saliva string there. Look, the blood. I didn't realize it was so bloody. But yeah, I was spitting out mostly saliva, but a little bit of blood. So, Lady C sounds all gross. Why are you taking pictures? Asked Parody Bear. I don't know. I like to document this stuff. I've taken pictures of all of my beta body parts. Look at that. Look, you can see the string. Is that fishing line? Or is it just string? Sutures, he called them. Sutures, I was expecting, oh, you're going to put a butterfly Band-Aid on my thing. But no, I pulled out the string and I was like, oh. And I kept on like, bro, I am eating, says Nugget Man. I know. Yeah. Talk about the blacks. Yeah. The blacks are less disgusting than Hake's mouth. Hake's fake teeth. Hake teeth or fake teeth or both. But yeah, terrible. So, and that's just the beginning of what he has to do. Every 10 years or so, I go to the dentist and have to do a whole bunch of work. I'm shocked this grosses people out, says Raymond. Yeah. Oops. Sorry for the mouth noises. But, terrible. Disgusting, Hake, says Bubs Love. I know. Shout out to Bubs Love. You are absolutely weirdo, says Sion. Where's the stream? Asked Guitar Dude 777. Is the stream not working? I think it is. I think Guitar Dude 777 is a boomer. So that's the update. He did say weak tooth. Congrats on the dental work. Thank you, Esoteric. So I've been like 4 times. I've been to the dentist like 4 times. Yeah, last time I went, it was like 2012. Shameful. But, yeah, don't eat sugar and candy. Right? And then if you have to, just, you know, Hake's teeth looks like he's a chain smoker. I'm not. No. It wasn't a free clinic dentist. No, it was a white man dentist. So, and a solid guy family dentist. Oh, since I don't have a family dentist, I did have to like get a tip. I asked around, found an upstanding guy with a solid reputation. His father was a dentist before him. You should have gotten a cleaning. Dang. Yeah, I will. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully I don't need a root canal, but if so, won't be my first. Wouldn't be my first. You probably should have kept this to yourself. How y'all doing anyway? Let's move on, right? You can call in, like I said, 888-775-3773. It would have been cheaper in Mexico. I know, but I want to support the white Americans. And plus, I don't go to Mexico. I do not. I've never been. I speak better Mexican than many Mexican Americans here. But, yeah, you know, there's murders and all kinds of stuff. So, just be careful. Hey, skip the dentist, check out a chiropractor. Actually, I skipped the chiropractor to go to the dentist. Here, let me talk. Don't show that again, Hake. Let me talk about Title IX. Little history lesson, guys. And this is a history lesson for me as well. I mentioned in Hake News on Monday, yesterday, that this Thursday will be the 50th anniversary, according to Commie Nonsense Network, CNN, of Title IX, which is Title IX. And it's silly. This is from Commie Nonsense Network, CNN. June 23rd, the 50th anniversary of Title IX, IX, 9, Roman numerals. The horrific landmark legislation that allowed women and girls equal opportunity, special treatment, in quote-unquote education and sports across the United States. Title IX has evolved, and I mentioned how dirty Obama evolved into supporting so-called same-sex marriage, which is a lie. He always supported it. Mexican is not a language. Spanish, Mexican Spanish. Obama supported so-called same-sex marriage all along. Title IX has been abused worse and worse over the decades. You know, this anti-discrimination mess, right? Get rid of anti-discrimination laws. They are evil. We need discrimination. We need to be discriminating. It is a good thing to discriminate based on what's right. To protect the rights of more than just athletes. Obama, Biden, you may recall, abused Title IX in the schools to force the transgenders into the wrong bathrooms and locker rooms in schools. Or withhold federal funding from, like, elementary schools, junior highs, high schools. Trump reversed those, by the way. So all of you people who are like, Trump was more radical, pro-homosexual than Obama, that's a lie. He reversed that stuff. Or his administration did anyway. And Mark Meadows, who was his chief of staff or something, and I don't know much about Mark Meadows. He may have been a hit and miss type of a guy. He may well have been. But he prevented Melania Trump from flying the rainbow lights on the White House, turning the White House into a rainbow. I guess Melania wanted to do that, according to rumors, right? The news, which are rumors. And Mark Meadows put a stop to that. So Trump is not as subversive and evil and ideologically pro-radical homosexual. He was just doing that out of being a nice guy, a boomer, a New York liberal. And that was to be expected. We already knew that. It's true. There are other issues that we disagree with Trump about, you know. Red flag laws, as Matt Living the Dream points out. Yeah, I'm not for that. Due process. You need due process. These red flag laws take away your guns without due process. A judge says, oh yeah, some girlfriend or wife or family member or cop says you seem to be a danger to yourself and others, so they take away your guns. The cops show up at your door. One guy got killed by police because he was like freaked out when the cops showed up to take his gun. He was like 60-something years old. I told the story like a year or two ago. But anyway, Title IX, according to Wikipedia, is the most commonly used name for federal civil rights law in the United States of America. Passed as part of the Education Amendments of 1972. Did anything good happen in the 70s? Other than a few decent people born, maybe? Are there a few decent people born in the 70s, or is that an overestimation? Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972. It prohibits sex-based discrimination in any school, which is a disgrace. You should discriminate based on sex in school, or any other education program that receives funding from the federal government. This is public law, blah, blah, blah. The early legislative draft was authored by, quote-unquote, Representative Patsy Mink. And I'm going to get to her. Patsy Mink, remember that name. With the assistance of Representative Edith Green, another female. Probably not a Christian female, I don't know. How can you be a Christian and support this feminist mess? It was co-authored and introduced to Congress by Senator Birch Bayh, B-A-Y-H, in the U.S. Senate. and female Congressman Patsy Mink in the House, later renamed the Patsy T. Mink Equal Opportunity in Education Act, following Mink's death in 2002. And this woman was causing mess way back in the times of LBJ, Lyndon B. Baines Johnson. So wrong. Look at her. Look at her. Zoom in on that hand. Like he's like holding up her hand, her arm, like he's got her by the wrist. I don't know if this is Air Force One and they're like waving. This is LBJ. What is he? And he's wearing these not morally straight, this LBJ back in the day, not morally straight flower wreath things, necklace thing, you know, the Hawaiian necklace. They call it, I forgot what it's called. And this pretty Asian-looking Hawaiian lady, and he's grabbing her arm. That's back when she was mildly attractive, all pretty. Way back in, I forget when that was. Was that the 70s or 60s? When Title IX was passed in 1972, only 42% of the students enrolled in American colleges were female. What do you mean only 42%? What in the world? In 1972, they passed the Women's Equal Opportunity in Education, and a full 42% were already so-called women. What? That was not necessary? And now it's more women than men enrolled in colleges, right? And they get all kinds of affirmative action. You know how the blacks are like, well, actually, white women benefit more from the affirmative action. But per capita, that's not true. But even still, yeah, they shouldn't get any. The purpose of the Title IX Education Amendments of 1972 was to update Title VII of the so-called Civil Rights Act of 1964, which banned several forms of discrimination in employment, which I still disagree with that, but did not address or mention discrimination in education. Contrary to popular belief, the creation of Title IX had nothing to do with sports. But this Patsy Mink woman, she was a mess, in my opinion. I have photographs of her throughout, like, history. I'm looking at a 1965 photograph of her alongside a whole bunch of other ladies, and I use the term loosely. 1965 Congresswomen. Wow, in the mid-60s, there were females in Congress, and that is a rough-looking bunch. Rough-looking bunch. One of them looks reminiscent of that Madeleine Albright female, who was the first female Secretary of State under that evil guy, the liar, Bill Clinton. So this woman was infecting Congress for decades. Decades. Born on a sugar plantation camp near Paia in the island of Maui. She was a third-generation descendant of Japanese immigrants. Grandparents were born in Japan during the 1800s. Her father was a civil engineer, graduated in Hawaii. Let me tell you a little bit. There was something I wanted to point out. Of course, she became a lawyer/liar, or at least graduated from law school. There was something I wanted to point out. In the 90s, she was there. Oh. Okay, so she is remembered as a woman who dealt with personal discrimination she had felt. She felt it as a woman and as an Asian American. And she dedicated her career to creating public policies to open doors for so-called women and so-called minorities. So they renamed that thing after her, Kissing Up. It's been a long time going more and more insane. Inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame after she died. And they named a whole bunch of different things after her. Obama gave her a Presidential Medal of Freedom 10 or 12 years after she died. Shows you how lame Obama is. Those women made it possible for men in dresses winning Women of the Year awards and Courage Awards, says Matt Living the Dream. Yeah, it's true. They've made documentaries about her, propagandizing her. Just a sick person. She died due to complications of chickenpox. Isn't that what Justin Bieber has, a complication from chickenpox? Or at least the same virus that makes chickenpox? Justin Bieber has half his face paralyzed, kind of like I do, or did yesterday. They numbed half my face with my dentist. But I went to a man, so I had total confidence. I kept on dozing off. That's how much confidence I had. He kept on saying, open your mouth. She died at age 74, this Patsy Mink woman. Any other notable pictures of her? She was all pretty back in 1972, at least for the campaign. And then, like, 1994, looking a little rougher. Oh, look at this picture. Oh, my gosh. Horrific. There's another female congressman this is from 1994 that we're looking at right now. We're looking at Patsy Mink talking all ugly, in my opinion. And with males standing behind her and a female. And that one of those females, well, that other female is nervous Nancy Pelosi with her eyebrows not all raised up. She's looking kind of rough even back then. Probably looked like she wasn't wearing as much makeup back then, although it's a black and white photo and it's hard to see. Hard to tell. Look at her, and then the guy to her left, our right, on the far right, he's like deer in headlights, staring hard. Maybe they just got a bad photograph of him. And then look at Patsy Mink, just a, no sense of humor, just a demon. I mean, that's my impression. It's my impression. 2002, there's a picture of her. I guess she was involved with HUD somehow. HUD, Housing and Urban Development, that's the redistribution of ghettos into other, and I think that's when she died, mid-70s. So rest in peace, Patsy Mink. Don't know much about you except for the bad things, some of the bad things, which is what she pushed for. She felt discrimination, so she went on a mission. And all these evil people promote her bitterness. Pelosi was 102 in that photograph. Yeah. Personal discrimination that she felt. So dumb. You know who else is a mess and living today? Jennifer Lopez. I remember I was in high school and she was like singing and pretty. And I was in high school 24 years ago. Let's see, 1999 was when I finished. That is 23 years ago. 52-year-old, this is from CNN, Commie Nonsense Network. 52-year-old, thrice divorced. That's more than twice. It's thrice, 3 times divorced. Thrice is a real word. Pop singer Jennifer Lopez, she a pop singer, introduced one of her twins, whom she had 14 years ago, with her singer ex-husband Mark Anthony. Hake, change the picture, please. That was, didn't want to keep looking at Patsy Mink, all old and almost dead. Poor lady. But Jennifer Lopez introduced her young daughter with gender-neutral pronouns. I saw somebody super chatted about this, too, during the Jesse Lee Peterson show. J-Lo, J-L-O, that's what she's called for short, or J-L-O, Jello, And her child, really daughter, is it Emme or M? Emme, E-M-M-E. Emmy? Emi? Maribel Muniz. Maribel Muniz. Age 14 is being praised, or she and her mother are being praised for being perverted degenerates. They had the mother and daughter duo previously made headlines. Oh, let me show you some. Let me pull up some photographs from these because I don't have them on. I mean, I don't have them in the folder here, so I'll put them in the folder, I think. Let's see. Yeah. Terrible. Okay, so I'll put these in the main folder, just as screenshots here, just so you can show what these people look like. And cover your eyes, maybe, if you're easily grossed out by old women trying to be pretty. Jennifer Lopez is the next Cher. Oh, old. I mean, 52 years old is not that old, but no, it's not a good thing to be acting like this. Even when you're young, not a good thing to be a mess like this. But anyway, they previously made headlines for this thing, singing and dancing together, I guess when she was 12 years old. 12 years old. Talk about putting the kids and sexualizing the kids. So degenerate. So degenerate. Look at this. I think that's her at age, 11. 11 years old. And using her as a prop. This is from 2020. Jennifer Lopez co-headlined the Super Bowl 54 LIV 54 Roman numeral Pepsi halftime show. Pepsi, so sick. In 2020, this was a hit piece against Trump. She's wearing this American flag type of dress thing, all nasty. Not that the flag is nasty, but she's nasty in the flag, right? And look at this. They have like little children, like prepubescent little girls dancing on stage alongside this old woman, Jennifer Lopez, singing and dancing and being little girls. So sick, so wrong. I noticed that they're trying to sexualize children very young, meaning get them to be sexual and all like degenerate, immodest, trying to dress up as though they're like grown adult, slutty-looking young ladies. And I use the term ladies loosely. And they're trying to do that to old people, too. You'll notice in the movies, if you ever watch movies, they've been doing it for years, decades, having old people all sexual, too. When you're young, you're not supposed to be sexual, I think. And when you're, well, obviously not. Yeah, not I think. I know that. And then when you're old, you're not supposed to be sexual either. You're supposed to, like, get past it. But no, they want to eliminate, you notice that? That they want to eliminate the, they want to sexualize everybody. I'm shaking my head. It's sick. They were pushing the cougar thing, older women with younger males. And there are a lot of males who are doing that. Jennifer Lopez herself was with Alex Rodriguez for several years, it seemed like. Anyway, they took the stage again recently, Jennifer Lopez and her daughter. I don't know why she's called Muniz. Is Lopez her real last name or no? And then she's had this girl with Mark Anthony, right? Oh, is Mark Anthony's last name Muniz? Must be. Oh, turn on the AC, please. Too much hot air in here. Please, thank you. Lopez introduced Emme using so-called gender-neutral pronouns. They and them. I'm shaking my head. This is a quote from Jennifer Lopez. Thank you. I saw the light blink. That means it kicked on. The last time we performed together was in a big stadium like this. And I asked them, meaning her, I think, to sing with me all the time and they won't, meaning she won't, I guess she's talking about. She said on stage in a video that was shared on TikTok by the TikTok user Christina the Supermom. Yeah, right. Some supermom going to see Jennifer Lopez. The A is for multiple people, says Free Ross. Yes, indeed, it is. Lopez apparently turned Emmy, and her twin brother Max away from their father, her ex-husband, singer and actor Mark Anthony. This selfish woman recently broke up with her younger live-in boyfriend, Alex Rodriguez, who is, I think, 46 years old. She's 52. She got 6 years on him. Who's himself previously divorced, and he already has or had 2 children. And she already had 2 children by one of her ex-husbands. She's been married like 3 times and divorced 3 times. And then she's been seen once again with her ex-boyfriend, ex-fiancé from before he got married and had 3 kids, Benjamin Affleck. Ben Affleck. Probably not a Christian, by the way. A divorced male. Has 3 kids with Jennifer Garner. And he was called, he and she, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, I covered this before, and it makes me cringe, but it's disgusting and it's stupid. They were called Benifer by cringy liberal women. Benifer? How embarrassing. And guess what? It reminds me of that other actor whom we've covered, an actress whom we've been covering. That guy, Pirates of the Caribbean, Edward Scissorhands, 21 Jump Street, Nightmare on Elm Street, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp met his short-lived, extra young wife, Amber Heard. They had like a shower scene and Satan talked to them. And so they started kissing in like his trailer. What a mess. And same thing with Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck. These actors pretend, oh, it's just art. It doesn't play on my mind. Just be mature about it. We're artists. We can kiss on screen and have fake or who knows what so-called sex on screen. And it's just art. You're just a square or whatever, you know, to the Christians, right? They hate Christians. But sure enough, they had a movie together, a lame movie, by the way, when she was still married to some other guy, and they started apparently getting all into each other, and they did another movie together. I'm talking about Jennifer Lopez and Benjamin Affleck. That guy, I can't really watch him. I didn't even like him in that, I'm talking about a bunch of actors, by the way. I didn't even like him in that lame movie with that lame comedian actor who hanged himself. He played Peter Pan, all old and fat. I'm blanking on his name, but it doesn't matter. Robin Williams. I didn't even like him in that. He was in that, right? I think so. They all look alike. Well, not that I didn't like him in that. I just didn't like that movie. Thought it was kind of lame and emotional. So, yeah. These people can't... They're a mess. And then they're all political, too. And don't know what they're talking about. Let me read some super chats, guys. We're past the top of the hour. Over there on Odyssey, odyssee.com/@ The Hake Report, Hidden Gems says, over the weekend I watched Larry Elder's documentary, Uncle Tom, and Matt Walsh's documentary, What is a Woman? I can't believe the level of brainwashed, delusional people are loose in these streets. Yeah, true. There are a lot of brainwashed and delusional people in these streets. And the evil people want every idiot voting. I want more people voting, not less. No, I want fewer people voting. They don't know what they're thinking or talking about. I noticed that when you look at, like, Roe v. Wade or, I don't know, DACA or some of these decisions, legal decisions that are supposed to happen, have nothing to do with so-called democracy. They will do polls to say, oh, most people don't think Roe v. Wade should be overturned. Most people think this or that. Most people don't think this or that. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter what most people think because it's what's right. It's what's the law. I'm shaking my head. But yeah, they want mob rule. Base America First on streamlabs.com/the Hake Report says good analysis on the gas rebate. Biden gas bucks. Gas rebate cards. Biden's considering it. He previously poo-pooed it. Base America First goes on. Create a crisis, then create a boondoggle to bribe the voters with their own debt. Blame the rhinos not suspending the gas tax. They can't since those funds are legally committed. Cash for clunkers too. Cronyism will cost 10 times the quote-unquote savings. Yeah, good point. Think about all the administration that administrative costs to send out this money rather than allow them to I don't know, make the gasoline or whatever they do. Harvest the oil. Do you harvest oil? You pump oil. Or you drill for oil, whatever. So, yeah, thank you, Base America First. I had mentioned this in Hake News at the end of hour 1, I think, of the Jesse Lee Peterson show. And it went like this. Sleepy Joe's considering a plan to send Americans, so-called Americans, gas rebate cards to help fight soaring prices at the pump. And I said it's a problem his ilk caused. The White House previously poo-pooed such a program, so difficult to administer. Now Sleepy Joe told reporters Monday the plan's not been ruled out. And I said, bribe the sucker voters. May even support a temporary suspension of the federal gasoline tax. 18.3 cents per gallon federal tax. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Require money-grubbing Congress's approval. Yeah, blame the rhinos. Despite high gas prices and the threat of recession, Americans are going to take road trips over the 4th of July. That's Independence Day. During White History Month, it's coming up. So we'll see. We will see. Somebody said that he liked Ben Affleck as Batman. That's the only Batman that I've never looked at. I never watched it. I'm like, nah, no thanks. But he might have been okay in it. Anyway, thank you, guys. You can call in 888-775-3773. Let me talk about based Japan. And I'm half kidding because the Daily Wire reported June 20th, just a couple days ago, right? Or just yesterday. Harvest the oil lake? Japan court rules that so-called gay marriage is not protected by their constitution. Says marriage is for bearing and raising children. Thank you. Duh. Much to the disappointment of LGBTQ plus activists amid Pride, so-called Pride Month, False Pride and False Identity Month, a Japanese court ruled this week that Japan's so-called same-sex marriage ban didn't violate its constitution. Judge Doi Fumi of the Osaka District Court determined Monday that Article 24 of Japan's constitution did not confer protections on so-called same-sex marriage, which doesn't exist. The plaintiffs were 3 so-called same-sex couples, 2 males, 2 sets of male so-called couples, and 1 female couple, lesbians, who filed for 1 million yen in damages per couple, about $7,400. They plan to appeal the ruling in the high court. The district court agreed with the government's argument that the purpose of marriage is reproduction. Doesn't Japan have like a shrinking population? Do they have a shrinking population? I feel like they do because they have all kinds of degeneracy. They're not a very Christian country. It is not good. They have like rules against public indecency, but they just skirt around those rules. It's sick. The people are so corrupt. The district court agreed with the government's argument. The court added that the system of marriage served a greater pragmatic purpose of protecting women and children. No, protecting men and women to bear children and raise them. Marriage shall be based only on the mutual consent of both sexes, and it shall be maintained through mutual cooperation with the equal rights of the husband and wife as a basis. Boo, equal rights. Machi Sakata, one of the plaintiffs, told Reuters that she doubted, I guess she's one of the lesbians, right? That she doubted the legal system was working. She and her so-called partner, a so-called U.S. citizen, were relying on the ruling ahead of the birth of one of their children, or one of their children. What a confusing situation. What a mess children are raised in. I think there's a possibility this ruling may corner us, said that lesbian, I guess. The district court opinion per BBC, the far-left enemies of Great Britain, BBC, said that this district court opinion did speculate in its ruling that individual dignity may necessitate marriage benefits, so-called marriage benefits for so-called same-sex couples. Free Ross says Nagasaki was a Christian city, yet America chose to nuke it. Yeah, we dropped atomic bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Is it Hiroshima or Hiroshima? From the perspective of individual dignity, it can be said that it is necessary to realize the benefits of same-sex couples being publicly recognized through official recognition, read the ruling. So this ruling wasn't so based after all. They pretended about that can be still dignified. It's not dignified to be so-called same-sex married, because it's not dignified at all. The latest ruling follows similar lawsuits filed in elsewhere around Japan, 2019. Last March, a district court ruled the same-sex marriage ban was unconstitutional. But apparently, I don't know. Japanese are extremely racist and rarely interbreed with immigrants, second-class citizens. Yeah, and I wonder if this lesbian is a so-called U.S. citizen, but really Japanese, you know? You know? Terrible. Man, my mouth is kind of sore, but it's all right. I'm tough. You know where else is going to hell? Colombia. Just running through the news here, guys. Colombia. The far-left female run outlet The Skim. I told you about this yesterday and in Hake News again today. On Sunday seems sort of sacrilegious, in my opinion. Although I know Seventh-day Adventists prefer Saturday for church. The country elected its first leftist vice president, if you believe that. Self-described leftist, anyway. Gustavo Petro. And I have pictures of this guy and his so-called vice president, or to-be vice president-elect. Look at that guy. That's from like 2013 or so. He's older than that now. He's like 60s. He's in his mid-late 60s, I think. Former member of the M19 guerrilla movement. So he was, look at him. Bogota. He just looks like a scumbag. Or am I wrong? Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong. Gustavo Petro promised to stop new oil exploration. Look at that. First black female vice president. She's cute. She's mildly attractive. Kind of pretty. But she's a black Latina, right? And she's the first black vice president. How embarrassing. A woman. She's a radical environmentalist. So this Petro guy, it's funny, Petro stopping the oil exploration. Petro, isn't that gasoline? Isn't that European for gasoline? European language? Raise taxes on the rich. This is Francia Marquez, the female, an environmental activist and black single mother. She's a single mother. Reminds me of America. In America, they celebrate when single mothers get elected to, they being the mainstream media I'm talking about. The unchristian. Attractive, she's obese. Yeah, she's obese, but she's a little bit fat. It's true. Chunky. But, I don't know. Chunky, but funky. But no, she does not belong in leadership, and she does not belong being an activist. And I don't know what the situation is with her single mother status, if her husband died, or if she never married, or if she got divorced, or what. But it takes two to tango. Usually, you are to blame for your situation. Butch says, she thick. No, I disavow. I disavow such language. Yes, they, meaning the unchristians. Indeed, Timothy. One supporter called the win a change for the better. Makes me want to say stupid, but I don't want to say stupid in front of the kids. Meanwhile, the win has Colombia's armed forces worried that they will face structural changes. Colombia. How do you have Colombia and they have their first leftist? What were they run by before? Were they just always run by drug dealers and the people in the pocket of the drug dealers? I don't know. To me, that seems strange to... Maybe they didn't want to be called leftist because, you know, I guess down in South America, different parts of South America had like German contingents and people who were more like Everet over in... What was that? Argentina? Don't cry for me, Argentina. Evita was married to some guy, right? Perón or something like that. Probably totally butchering it. And they were sort of sympathetic with the Nazis. But the Nazis were praised until they weren't by the mainstream media. Right? Seems like up here, you know, Time magazine had Hitler on their cover a couple of times. Not that I know much of anything about history, but it seems like they liked them until they didn't. Like, you know, that base boomer who has appeared on the Jesse Lee Peterson show last Tuesday of the month quite commonly. Bill Lockwood says that fascism, he calls it fascism. Fascism is just to the right of communism. It's just not as globalist. And not necessarily as atheist, because communism is necessarily atheist. So, I don't know. Don't really know, don't really care is good versus evil, right? And right now in Colombia, they've gone toward this soft, phony, female-minded kissing up to the environment and women and blacks, and so it's not going to be a good thing. It's going the way of the world. They're not thinking for themselves. That's just the truth. It's so sick. Anyway, you can call in 888-775-3773. It was funny hearing about, speaking of the soft stuff, soft female-minded stuff, I was debating against one of the callers who assumed that I was necessarily for throwing nonviolent offenders in jail. You know, the pot thing, the pot smoker thing? Guys in their mid-20s and sometimes older guys, including there's this atheist guy whom I like, Christian-friendly atheist guy whom I appreciate, who's interviewed JLP a number of times. And I think he's been on JLP show, or at least the Fallen State, maybe. On the Jesse Lee Peterson show, Stefan Molyneux. That guy's for legalizing the drugs. And especially like pot, I think. And, I don't think it's a good idea. But the main thing is I'm not for changing something that's already, especially when it's the people pushing the change, the main people behind the push for the change are people who are pushing for the worse, people who are not decent. But since you're intellectual, a lot of you guys are intellectual, you'll agree with them on that issue, but you shouldn't agree with them on any issue because they're the ones who are going to have the power and just make it worse. They'll take it from bad to worse, I don't know if I don't know how many nonviolent pot smokers are actually in prison and jail. I know that there was a pot smoker who called in to the show who became a felon because I guess he had all kinds of stuff, all kinds of pot on him. So he couldn't vote. This guy was out of Florida, couldn't vote, couldn't own firearms. And I don't necessarily agree with not allowing felons to own firearms after they've paid their thing. If you're too dangerous, as Amador said one time, if you're too dangerous to own firearms, then you're too dangerous to be out on the streets, period. If you're not to be trusted with capable guns, then throw them in jail or death sentence or whatever. Or deport, in my opinion. And so, I don't know, it just seems like something you don't want to encourage because most of the pot push is by pot heads, and that's not a good thing. I've said frequently, you want to be sober-minded. I like the deport method, said Butch, yeah. You want to be sober. And I get that there's supposed benefits from so-called CBD or whatever. But there is a suppression of the information of the negative effects because they don't have your best interests at heart. The media, much of academia, so-called scientists, they are every bit as influenced by politics as the rest of us. Case in point, well, I don't know if this is a case in point, but I told you about the vaccines. They're trying to vaccinate the children. I'm not for that. I don't think it's a good idea. The China virus to vaccinate the babies who are younger than 5 years old. Why? I knew one 18-year-old who took the virus like a champ. Whole family got sick one time. She didn't get it. And then later she did get sick. And then she took a run and cleared out her sinuses. And now she's fine. Handled it like a champ. And then little kids, I don't know. The FDA, do you trust the FDA? I mean, I know that there's stuff that the FDA that does and says that is true, right? But we don't have and then the scared woman-led CDC, same thing. I know that they have some stuff that's true, some things that's not. Safety data from Moderna and Pfizer, the FDA and the CDC, which is run by that scared woman who's not a Christian. What's her name? Rochelle Walensky. I've covered her. Sick person. Safety data from Moderna and Pfizer found side effects mostly mild, short-lived. Side effects most commonly included pain at the injection site. Listen to this. Sometimes swelling and redness. As far as systemic or body-wide symptoms, the most common were fatigue or sleepiness. Think about that. Your child gets fatigue and sleepiness. Some children had irritability or fussiness, loss of appetite, headache, abdominal pain or discomfort, enlarged lymph nodes, mild diarrhea, They had to say mild diarrhea or vomiting. But everyone got better quickly, the data showed, purportedly. Excuse me. Doesn't seem necessary, in my opinion. Lisa in the Facebook chat says, I just fear that my kids might get long haul COVID. I've seen too many reports on that, and it's absolutely debilitating to kids and can become chronic. Well, have no fear. Have no fear. It may, and I have heard that it could be a legitimate concern. But chronic, I don't know. What do you mean chronic? You mean permanent or chronic for some time? Because I do know a young woman who did get so-called long-haul COVID, long-haul China virus. I think even after getting the vax. Could be mistaken. But, an active woman. She wasn't able to be so active as other things. Temporary side effects, no big deal. Meh. I know, but what about long-term studies? You know? There haven't been any long-term studies, you'll notice. So I wouldn't be so quick to poo-poo people's concerns about these things, you know? Because it seems like the mainstream media and the politicians and the politically motivated so-called science fields have been wrong before. They've been wrong before. They've talked about how water recently, the microplastics or whatever in water, PFAS, those are more harmful than originally thought. So I'm just saying, I suggest considering being healthy the all-natural way. Long-haul COVID can cause hepatitis/liver damage, says Lisa. Interesting. It's been years, Hake. We all weigh our own risks in life, and I'm not afraid of the vaccine. I know, but you are afraid. You said you're afraid. Unless you misspoke, you're afraid of long-haul COVID for your children. And so it's not good to act in fear. That's all I'm saying. Calm down and be wise about it. I'm not saying don't do it. Go ahead and do it if you see fit. You are our resident expert with regard to that stuff. So, anyway. I don't know if we choose our fears, but be wise with, because that's what they've tried to do to women, is put the fear in you. I have heard stories too, and I do not discount the concerns about the long-haul COVID. I don't say, oh, that's fake news. I don't know. I do not discount that, all right? I'm not saying it would be unwise to do that. I'm not saying either way, but I do say about fear. Pray. Why worry when you can pray? Trust Jesus, he'll lead the way. Why worry? Trust fully on his promise. Don't be a doubting Thomas. Why worry when you can pray? And speaking of cringy, awful music, it is time for some music. It is the top of the hour, guys. You can call in 888-775-3773. I disavow this music. It is the hidden cameras. And don't listen to the lyrics. Don't try to analyze them. Don't look them up. But the music is mildly kind of nice. And I will see... I will see you in a few minutes, okay? All right, adios. I believe in the good of life. I believe in the good of life. I believe in the good. I believe in the good. I believe in the good of life. I believe in the good of life. As I kneel for a taste of man. I believe in the taste of wine. As I do not step on a landmine. I believe in the good of life. As I kneel for a taste of man. I believe in the taste of wine. As I do not step on a landmine. I'll testify on the word of the radio. And I dream of the fate of democracy. As I flee on my bike from the crimes we made. And that I did not do those drugs or steal those underpants. I believe in the good of life. As I plead for a taste of man. I'm thirsty for the taste of wine. As I do not step on a landmine. I'll testify on the word of the radio. That I dream of the fate of democracy. As I flee on my bike from the crimes we made. And that I did not do those drugs or steal those underpants. I believe in the good of life. As I kneel for a taste of man. I believe in the taste of wine. As I do not step on a landmine. I'll testify on the word of the radio. That I dream of the fate of democracy. As I flee on my bike from the crimes we made. That I did not do those drugs or steal those underpants. I disavow. This is pothead music, says Nugget Man. Play normal music for once, Hake. Sounds kind of summerish. I can simp to this. Thank you, man. Hake is just trolling us with good tunes now. Indeed. Play something you don't need to disavow. This music is... Whew. Sorry, kids. Actually, kids shouldn't even be in the road. No more hidden cameras, Hake. Hake's music is stressful. I know. Next thing, Hake will be offering pot with his music. I know. I would prefer to see Joel Friday dance. He's a good dancer. False pride and false identity month. I'd rather listen to Hake just play a xylophone or a harmonica. This is good beach music. Well, I appreciate that. Pull the plug, REM. Anyway. Not good. I like the hidden cameras now, says John Doe. No man is a good dancer, says Robert Lee. Yeah, you got me. Touche on that. Touche. You know, this was kind of interesting to me, a little bit, from the far left females at the Skim. They were talking about paid family leave and trying to get males to act like females, fathers to act like mothers. The far left female run outlet, The Skim, says 18 days is the number of family leave days that new dads generally take. They use the term dads. Because they like to steal the dignity from the fathers. And so they refer to them as dads. It's true. Compare that to 54 days, the average taken by new moms. Because they try to pretend like mothers are these innocent people. They're not. Only about a quarter of U.S. workers have access, which is communist buzzword, to paid family leave. And let's be honest here, it's mostly women who take it anyway. Some dads fear a potential loss of income, and others don't think their work schedules are flexible enough to allow for it. But there are a number of benefits to dads taking family leave. See for yourself. And they talk about all this mess. About 90% of so-called U.S. workers have access to unpaid family leave. Only a quarter have access to paid family leave. Most dads aren't taking more than a few weeks of it. They shouldn't. The mother should be with the kid in the early days. The father should be with the kid after work. And then start looking out for what the mother's trying to pull. You know? Couple vacation days, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But weeks? Women were twice as likely as men to utilize flexible work schedules, work arrangements. I know. Because most of the time the women shouldn't be working in the first place, especially like mothers, young mothers or mothers with young children. So-called mental health. While postpartum depression is usually discussed in the context of how it impacts new moms, 10 to 20% of mothers, they call them moms, experience postpartum depression. 10% of dads, fathers, supposedly experience postpartum depression. What? A new study conducted in California. Oh, California. Psh, what's the quality of fathers in California? Yeah, it doesn't sound right. What's the quality of fathers in California? Found that when dads take their leave, it had an overall positive impact on both dads and moms' mental health. And what do they know about mental health? They think it's mentally healthy to kill your baby. They literally think that it helps your mental health to kill your baby. Men's Mental Health Month is June. Men's Mental Health Awareness Month in June. It's funny that it goes right back into the False Pride and False Identity Month. Interesting, huh? The postpartum period, postpartum means after the baby was born out of the mother's body. That's what postpartum means. So what's that have to do with the father? That's a weak father if he's has depression after that. Yeah. Sorry. Maybe not. The postpartum period is supposed to be this beautiful time where you celebrate your new little one. And unfortunately, it goes unnoticed that many folks struggled during this time. They have a change of their identity and responsibility. See, they're taking identity from their children. And responsibility, and there's a strain on the interpersonal relationship between the partners, says Jen Lieferman. Jen Lieferman. Doesn't sound very Christian. Director of Rocky Mountain Prevention, especially talking about partners, Rocky Mountain Prevention Research Center at the Colorado School of Public Health. She authored a study on how dads also suffer from prenatal and postpartum anxiety. It's because he can't trust his wife with the kids, maybe. When a dad acts as a primary caregiver, a study found that they will have the same brain development as a primary caregiving mom, whatever that means. Shared caregiving responsibility. When a dad takes less leave and a mom primarily stays home and cares for the child, the primary caregiver, the mother, gets established right away. The woman is not only more confident about her abilities to be the caregiver, she's more competent when the guy takes some time off. I guess. I don't know. That's confusing. Companies offering men better paid family leave can also help women advance professionally. Like where they want that. We want women to succeed, but we don't expect the men to do more caregiving. The formula doesn't work. So I think the degree to which organizations are committed to women's development and women's advancement also have to be encouraging and compensating men to take leave so that the women have an opportunity. They're not the only ones who are always having interrupted career paths, and the men never do. In other words, they hate nature and nature's God. Mental health just feels white. No, it doesn't, Blark Blark. Just take that back. Take it back. That's not good. Because mental health is a fake buzzword, I say. Because the point of highlighting mental health is to pretend it has nothing to do with the spirit and how you live and right and wrong. And of course it does. And, the anger that they encourage people to have, the judgment upon the conservatives that they encourage people to have against whites and men, and pushing all this evil on kids, that's not good for your spirit. And then it's not good for your mental state either. But no, they want to just use a soft, cushy life put a soft, cushy life on people. And their solution is to get rid of families, to have the government and the corporations take care of the families rather than the father. The men of the town, the men of the family are supposed to provide and protect. But now everybody says, oh, federal government, we over here in Uvalde got shot up. Not we, but their children, right? Our children got shot up because the men of the town did not protect the children. We made gun-free zones, or we complied with gun-free zones, and didn't report or watch out for that guy who's been insane and everybody knew about him. People knew about him. So, federal government, we need you to take away the guns of the men and the women who are capable with guns, too. Because women should be capable with guns, too. Sensible ladies, I mean. The men of the town the men are supposed to provide and protect, but now they want the government to provide and protect by taking away the rights and the freedom and the independence of the men. So backwards. Prisoner class says, amen to that, Hake. Mental health is literally just a secular replacement for living according to God's plan. Yeah, it's a false imitation. Just like empathy is a liberal word. And they throw out love is a liberal, false notion of actual love. That makes you think, oh, these people love each other. No, they don't. They're using each other. And just because most people are using each other in the fake romance world, people are just egotistically using each other. Let me talk about this a little bit. I notice that every so-called love song is like worshiping oneself, or the females. Or the males, or the way that they feel. I never want to be apart from you. But that's like idolizing the relationship, or your imagination about the relationship. You're not becoming one. You're not leading the wife, or you're not following and respecting the husband. And you're not even getting married most of the time. All these deep actors and actresses getting all together and pretending like they love each other. They propose to each other. They break it off. They get with other people. They make families, and then they desert those families. And then they call their children non-binary and all that mess. Share's like all up on Twitter spreading mess against Trump, who he has his own issues with his family that he's constantly having to deal with. But he's leading the country. And Cher, meanwhile, has that daughter that became like a fake son. Chaz Bono? Bono? Am I saying it right? Sonny's son? Sonny and Cher. I got you, babe. And now she's a mess, and that guy died. And I don't think they stayed together even before he died. Got your six. What's up, man? It says, can't listen to the radio. All female worship. Yeah, even the so-called Christian songs, they sound like they're so-called love songs to like some woman. They don't, it's not even really worshiping God most of the time. I remember when I was a kid, and sometimes I would hear some secular music, and I would pretend, oh, this song, even though it's worshiping some woman, I'll pretend it's a song to Jesus. That's how you should take the hidden cameras. It's a song to Jesus, but it still doesn't work. It's sick. It's a perversion. They don't even realize, they don't even know what it is. It's selfish. Sonny was a congressman. Whoa, he was? And he was kind of conservative too, huh? He was, I think he liked, I forgot what it was. What do you mean Hulk? Canadian David mentioned Hulk. And, yeah, speaking of that, they turned Hulk into that guy who's this big beta guy. Just a cringy, liberal, fake actor, sleazy person. But yeah, I think he was not for abortion or something like that. Mark Ruffalo. And he is just a weak person. I'm talking about this superhero, this fake superhero, green monster guy. He gets angry and then he bulks up and becomes Hulk. It's in these cringy, lame Marvel movies. None of them have been good that I know of. And it's just been embarrassing. I'm not talking about Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan's kind of beta too, huh? Yeah. He joined the NWO. It's true. Oh yeah, Lord BB42's been super chatting about Mark Ruffalo. That these people like to do evil things. Perversion. Celebrities aren't real, bro. They're all CGI. Well, whatever. Speaking of that false love, I reported last week about phony Joe Biden. I want to talk about the far left enemies of America, The Guardian. Okay? The Guardian. Mark wavy chips. Ruffles have ridges. Last week, Sleepy Joe Biden signed that LGBTQ executive order to curb anti-trans laws and get rid of conversion therapy. Have any of you ever heard of conversion therapy before the liberals started doing hit pieces about it? I certainly hadn't. Of course, the homosexual stuff wasn't an issue back when I was growing up, where I was growing up, it wasn't. Maybe at Azusa Pacific, there were some gays there because, it's a bunch of effeminate guys being all nice and soft and weak. But I think that it's kind of a boogeyman thing. Like, they take the most extreme thing that some of the Christians have done. You know how Christians are kind of at a loss to deal with vices and sin and all that stuff. They don't know what they're doing in life. So they took, like, the worst examples and pretended that that's all what it is. And so they're really trying to outlaw, I think how JLP explains it. Some think he oversimplifies it. I don't think so. They're trying to outlaw counseling against it. That's what they really want to do. Clamp down on free speech. Clamp down on the Christians. They hate Christians. And then they just hide behind these extreme examples where they like electroshock the gays to who don't want to be into that mess, the so-called gays, right? Who don't want to be into what they've fallen into. And they say, oh, it amounts to torture. The corrupt UN said, oh, it amounts to torture in some cases. So they take these extreme examples and hide behind them and say, oh, the Christians are crazy, not us. But yes, you're insane. You're pushing the opposite extreme, which is calling it right, calling wrong right. And, you know, Biden did this during False Pride and False Identity Month, the Gay Pride Month. Biden doesn't love anybody. He's all... I played the clip over and over again of after my guest on Friday, I think. You are loved. To the young people, I want to say, you are loved. You don't love them. You don't love anybody, Sleepy Joe. Sicko. The guy who came out in support of so-called same-sex marriage before Obama came out, you know? Obama came out of the closet in support of it. Because he was in support of it all along. So he was hiding the fact that he was supporting it. But people knew. Yeah, I know, prisoner class. Doesn't that false sex stuff, isn't that very dangerous? Can't the gender transition surgery amount to torture and mutilation and violations of, it's like a human atrocity, a violation of so-called human rights, which I don't believe in human rights, right? Because that's a communist buzzword to globo homo mess. They pretend abortion is a human right. Think about the horror that some of these people that transition and then they regret it. Or who cares if they don't regret it? They're too dumb to regret it, right? I mean, you shouldn't regret the mess, live in regret, obviously. But it's wrong what they're doing. That's even worse than the shocking people here and there. If I do say so myself. I have never seen like the shock therapy. Torturing someone to change their beliefs. They need Jesus, not electricity, says JJ Money. Yeah, it's true. But have you seen, I watched parts of, What is a Woman? That guy's thing. You know, Matt Walsh. Base Matt Walsh. Nick, lobotomies equals bliss. Gross. Sleepy Joe's Biden's executive order, totally backwards, asks the federal health and education departments. Health and education departments. We should have gotten rid of the education department during Reagan. I think he was going to do it, but he didn't. To expand access. There's another buzzword. Communist buzzword. To gender-affirming medical care and find new ways to counter a flurry of bills passed in U.S. states by so-called conservative lawmakers that ban these treatments for transgender youth. No such thing as transgender youth. You're showing evil to the kids. This was last Wednesday. Asking federal agencies to ensure federally funded programs do not offer conversion therapy, which tries to force LGBTQ plus youth to change their sexual orientation. And the Federal Trade Commission had asked them to consider policing such practices that seek to change a patient's so-called sexual disorientation or gender misidentity as deceptive businesses. What? Backwards. Shock therapy is greater than Hake's music. Yeah, I know. Everything's a communist buzzword to Hake. Indeed. Indeed. I should just call it a buzzword for evil. Okay, because I may overuse that term. A study backed by the Trevor Project, an LGBTQ plus anti-suicide advocacy group. Talk about an oxymoron. You are an ox and a moron if you're the Trevor Project. You're for them being degenerate and perverted, but you want them to not commit suicide. You're trying to have your cake and eat it too, basically. because getting more and more into that life and going down that road is suicide, spiritual suicide, definitely, and sometimes physical self-destruction too. Talk about causing issues. These people are, I've heard, more likely to be depressed and on drugs, more likely to be unfaithful to their so-called partner, which they shouldn't even be with anybody like that. And miserable and angry and judging the people, in some cases, who are their best friends. They found, this Trevor Project found that approximately $650 million is spent on conversion practices annually. Wow. Including payments from insurance companies and Medicaid, the federally funded health care program for lower income people. Well, guess what? There's a lot of Hispanics and blacks and poor whites and others whose parents and the children themselves don't want to be involved in this mess. And so they try to go for that stuff, and then the government pays for it. But Biden's all, this discredited practice. It amounts to torture. This is another buzzword, another communist buzzword, another evil buzzword. We have a lot more work to do. A lot more work to do. The ultra MAGA agenda. He decried the ultra MAGA agenda. Well, I shouldn't smile too big. I don't want to pull on my sutures. Sutures. Hundreds of bills targeting LGBTQ plus people. Parents of transgender youth are being harassed in Texas. That's right. That's right. Because there's no such thing as transgender youth, and an evil mother who encourages her child to go through this mess, or her minor, underage person, to go through some kind of hormone blockers or worse. That is child abuse, I say. Wolf in sheep's clothing child abuse, because, maybe sometimes the kid thinks he wants it or she wants it. These attacks are real and consequential for real families. Those aren't real families. Going after Mickey Mouse, for God's sakes. That's Sleepy Joe Biden. I told you about that. The measures under Sleepy Joe's executive order, I guess, include encouraging the placement of LGBTQ plus children in foster homes that support their so-called sexual disorientation, and creating new working group for LGBTQ plus homelessness, because they get homeless a lot. They hate their parents and they're defiant, or their parents hate them, or both, probably usually both. DOJ has been suing some of these states that have been targeting the trans kids, protecting the kids from the trans agenda, really, transgender agenda. So sick. Biden recently warned of rising hate and violence targeting LGBTQ plus people, especially those of color, transgender, so-called women of color. Oh yeah, those black males who feel like females are still pretty violent sometimes. And they catch some violence sometimes. Wonder who that's from. Break. Police in Idaho arrested, over 2 weekends ago, 31 members of a white supremacist group. Those upstanding young men, or at least men who are trying to stand for upstanding values. Going to the Coeur d'Alene Pride Parade to protest against this degeneracy being pushed in some of the last white Christian bastions in the United States. They can't leave us alone. That's Antifa and the Satanic Temple and the LGBTQ plus blind brainwashed people, So sick. This was funny. Also from The Guardian. A group of men stormed a drag queen story hour. This was, again, like a week or or so ago, but it was covered in the far-left Guardian. Group of men storm drag queen story hour in California in a possible hate crime. 5 men believed to be affiliated with the so-called far-right, I call them center-right, centrist, Proud Boys, centered on basically what's right, you know, Constitution and all that, dignity. Proud Boys, if anything, they're too pro-gay in some cases, depends. But anyway, they disrupted the event for children, Drag Queen Story Hour. It's not an event for children. That's an event for the egos, the blind egos of the mothers, misguided mothers who take them there, and the misguided so-called drag queen. Drag queen! You know those gays who dress up like females, but they're not necessarily transgenders, but they call themselves drag queens? Authorities in the San Francisco Bay Area investigating a possible hate crime. This was the 13th of June, about a week ago, a little over. After a group of men, and I like how they use the term men. That's right, they were men. And we may know one of the guys, by the way. Don't want to do any doxing. But anyway, right on. Stormed into a library. Oh, stormed! Where a drag queen was hosting a children's reading event. Allegedly shouted homophobic and anti-LGBTQ plus slurs, meaning they told the truth. Panda Dulce was this disgusting person hosting a drag queen story hour at San Lorenzo Library 2 Saturdays ago in celebration of Pride Month. For kids, that's sick. When a group of 5 men disrupted the event shouting tranny and pedophile. The men attempted to escalate to violence, Dulce said, if you want to trust Panda Dulce. It's a guy who calls himself Panda Dulce. Dulce. And totally freaked out all of the kids. Law enforcement believes the group is affiliated with the far-right Proud Boys. Sleepy Joe warned of rising hate and violence. There are several drag queen story hour programs in the Bay Area, the degenerate Bay Area, and some of the kids wake up and realize this is wrong. It's true. Organizers say it offers a kid-friendly entertainment while teaching children about diversity and community. I thought the closet was the loneliest place, but I was wrong. It was being out in the open, vulnerable and alone. Drag Queen Story Hour is so important to me and for our youth, and because it converts our differences from shame into power, said this Panda Dulce guy in 2017. So sick. Story hours have long faced backlash and criticism from the right and conservative publications. They're not even that conservative. Who claim the events are indoctrinating children. Duh. The weekend story time was shared by libs of TikTok, a right-wing anti-LGBTQ plus social media account with more than 1 million followers, Hake reported. Deputies responded to the library 1:30 p.m. after receiving reports of a disturbance at the reading for preschool-aged children. Their group was described as extremely aggressive with a threatening, violent demeanor without actually causing any violence. Violent demeanor, what does that even mean? Causing people to fear for their safety. In other words, they were just being men. What crime have these guys committed? Calling them violent. There's a picture of one guy who reminded me of a guy I know. But anyway, were they even arrested? 5 men were wearing black and yellow. Colors associated with far-right Proud Boys group. Shut up, The Guardian. You're far left and you are enemies of Great Britain, the UK, and America, you sickos. The sheriff's office. Here's some pro-police info for you. Not. The sheriff's office plans to post deputies at future story hour events at the library to deal with any disruptors. So they're going to enforce this on the children. Talk about public indecency. Yeah, I can say it, right? Can I say it? I don't want to. Should I say who it is? I'll skip it. But hat tip, salute to 07s in the chat for the Proud Boys. Yeah, disavow the Proud Boys? Joe Biden doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. Sorry, kids. Can you say heck? Joe Biden bullied Trump into disavowing Proud Boys. But Trump is all, I disavow Proud Boys. I don't know anything about them. Remember I covered that? I love how he's like, I don't know anything about them. But yeah, I'll disavow them just for politics. One more story from The Guardian, real fast. This is sick. A sick, gross guy. Would you look up this sleazy guy? Man, what's his name? He's not a Christian. Scott Wiener. Scott Wiener, California state senator. This guy is not at all a Christian. This is like from more than a month ago. Back in May, actually. A month and a half ago. Democrats in states across the United States seek to offer legal refuge to trans youth. It's a push. It's a major push. And the far-left foreign outlet, The Guardian, is covering it like it's a good thing. Efforts by state legislators follows California's lead in responding to the wave of Republican laws targeting transgender kids and families. Don't mess with trans kids. How about don't mess with normal kids and don't mess with kids who have abnormal issues by pretending to call them trans kids, you sickos. Yeah, Wiener, W-I-E-N-E-R. Sorry, kids. It's his last name. I can't help it. W-I-E-N-E-R. Scott Wiener. Sicko. Not a Christian, by the way. And I don't think he's morally straight, if I look at that. Oh, my gosh. Is my mind poisoned, or is it because I know something about him that that makes this relatively benign-looking photograph seem just vulgar to me? Is it because I already know this about him, or does he just look vulgar? It's a skinny guy, purportedly white, but, not Christian. It's a Jewish guy, right? Scott Wiener or Weiner. I don't know. Either one works. And fuzz on his face. Look at that wave. That's not a straight wave. He's at a pride parade, so-called false pride and false identity parade. Some guy next to him waving the California Republic flag, but it's not the California Republic flag because it has the radical homosexual rainbow. Oh, he's like in the parade. He's like riding a truck, a city truck in the parade. What in the world? Ugh. I guess that's up in San Francisco. What a messed up world. Is that a Tigger? Is he wearing Tigger the stuffed tiger? Oh, did he get a broken wrist or something? Anyway. Thank you, Chris. Anyway, what's it say? Coordinated effort announced on Tuesday by the LGBTQ Victory Institute and other advocates comes in response. They're trying to offer legal refuge to displaced transgender youth and their families. More than a dozen states. So, in Texas, Greg Abbott, the governor, has directed state agencies to consider placing so-called trans children in foster care. A judge blocked such investigations because he wants to investigate the parents who are subjecting their children to this stuff. There was a social worker, a Texas state social worker, who was having her, I think, a 15-year-old daughter, or maybe it was a 15-year-old son becoming a fake daughter, or a daughter becoming a fake son. Probably broke his wrist just waving. Looks a bit like Mark Ruffalo, says Lord Bibby. Yeah, except emaciated. So multiple states have approved measures prohibiting gender-affirming healthcare treatments for trans youth, so-called trans youth. And based Greg Abbott, I'm just kidding, he's not based, but they were investigating parents, and they suspended one woman, a social worker, Democrat, Texas social worker, who was pushing this on her daughter or son, giving the child hormone, the minor, right? Because it's not exactly a child if it's 15. It's a minor. Hormone blockers. I guess it's a child. Legally, it's a child. So lawmakers in Minnesota, New York, filed state refuge legislation modeled after the bill proposed in March by California State Senator Scott Wiener, that gross guy who makes me shudder. Wiener said he immediately began hearing from other states after coming forward with his bill, which would reject any out-of-state court judgments removing children from their parents' custody because they allow gender-affirming health care. It's not health care. So-called gender-affirming health care, if that were real, it would be like, hey, here's this type of food and this type of regimen to increase your testosterone if you're a male, and to become more ladylike if you're a female. That would be gender affirming, because it would be affirming your actual gender if you're a boy or a girl, rather than the false illusion of a gender. It would make arrest warrants based on alleged violation of another state's laws against receiving such care, communist buzzword, care, the lowest priority for California law enforcement. We're just sick of playing defense against what these red states are doing, Scott Wiener said back the beginning of May. We're going on offense. We're going to go protect LGBTQ kids. Yeah, okay. And their families, not families. And we're going to build a rainbow wall to protect our community. What a sicko, huh? Total sicko. Joining the effort are LGBTQ lawmakers. They've been infiltrating in Colorado, Connecticut, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Kansas, Kentucky, Maine, Michigan, New Hampshire, New Mexico, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, Washington, West Virginia. Okay. Anise Parker, who is pushing the Victory Institute for the radical homosexual thing, said the legislation would probably fail in some states, but it's time to stand against the onslaught of bills targeting the LGBTQ plus so-called community. Drive the conversation in the debate and call our allies proactively to step up instead of allowing ourselves to be targeted, said Anise Parker, the first openly LGBTQ plus mayor of a major American city, as Houston. She was the Houston mayor. Remember that? Lesbian. Isn't pride one of the deadly sins? Indeed. Especially a false pride. It's an illusion. Thinking that you're God. Wiener said it's despicable. You're despicable that any family would consider moving to a new state to protect a child, or would have to anyway. He hoped many states as possible would welcome them. When your kid is being threatened with removal from your home, families are going to consider a lot of different options. This is funny because they're going after actual parents who don't want to go along with this mess. They're taking kids away from their fathers who don't want them vaxxed, say, or who don't want them to go along with this transgender stuff. They're doing this to they're breaking up families. They're not for families. Families are going to consider a lot of different options. We just want to be clear that if you decide that's an option for you, we're going to do everything we can to welcome you and protect you. So wrong. So sick. Oops. So evil. And you know where there's another evil boomer Irish male? Is he Irish? Another executive order from that evil guy? Well, this is a push for that. You know how Biden hates people with guns? He's like, buy a shotgun. Bloomberg, you know, the outlet started by Michael Bloomberg, who hates the Second Amendment. He's not a Christian. Michael Bloomberg. Timothy O'Brien in Bloomberg, former editor and reporter for the New York Slimes, author of Trump Nation, The Art of Being the Donald, says an executive order that might actually stop gun violence. Biden could force gun manufacturers to choose between selling military-grade firearms to the government or to ordinary citizens. What an evil person. In other words, he wants to force the commie capitalist corporations, or the corporations, to only sell to the government. Or if the government sees that you're selling to the people, the government's gonna boycott you. Timothy O'Brien. It's another Irish male, huh? Is Biden Irish? He's Catholic, right? Aren't the only purported whites who are Catholics Irish or Italian? Yes, Bloomberg ads did run here. Yep. We played Michael Bloomberg trying to run for the primary, the Democrat primary. We got money and he lost. We being the Jesse Lee Peterson show. Indeed. Taking the sinner's money and using it for good. Meanwhile, he loses. Shows you that money isn't everything. Let me quickly get to Rick in Hampton, Virginia. Rick, how are you doing?
James, what's going on, Brother Jay?
Nothing much, just hanging out.
Man, that's good. Did you have a good weekend?
I did. Come close to your phone. You're coming in kind of quiet.
Oh,
You just hung up on us. Terrible. That's all right. You know, there's this crazy story. Speaking of protecting the children. Don't drink the floor sealant. 12 elementary school children drank floor sealant believing it was milk. According to CNN. This happened a week or so ago. After it was served to students at a child care program in Juneau, Alaska, per a school district. I guess 2 weeks ago Tuesday, several children at the school complained that the milk that they were serving tasted bad and was burning their mouths and throats. Ugh. An investigation revealed the chemical was mistakenly stored in a food warehouse. All 12 students are recovering and some have fully recovered. How do you mistake that? How do you mistake that? School district officials said, new safeguards are forthcoming. How did that happen? I don't know. People, pay attention to your job. Don't be thinking about girls or whatever. Who served this? It's crazy, huh? Anyway, let me just try Rick again. His phone got disconnected. Rick in Hampton, Virginia, you hung up on me, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, man. Still, it was my phone went on video, and I was trying to switch back to the phone. I apologize for that, my friend.
Yeah, and your phone's still coming kind of in and out. You must be under the bunker.
Yeah. You know, sure. On this page, I don't know why I just got some spots that sometimes the reception may go. What about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, stay right there and don't move. Although, who knows? Sometimes it just comes in and out, and it's... Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, man. Have you heard from Rudy Giuliani? And what was the other lawyer name when he was trying to...
the female lady.
Yeah!
I forget her name, but no, I haven't heard anything from Giuliani nor I like that lady too. I didn't think that she was a
Yeah.
kook. She might be, but I didn't think of her as a kook. Anyway.
Man, I mean, they was funny. They were troopers, man. But after that, man, I haven't heard nothing from them.
Yeah, I haven't
Nothing.
either, and I don't know what's going on. Giuliani, his law license was suspended over a year ago or something like that, or roughly a year ago. Man, it's on the tip of my tongue. Sidney Powell, thank you, Gregory.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, that's who I knew. I knew a lady was Powell. I couldn't think of her first name. I thought I said Stacy, but I knew it wasn't.
Yeah,
I ain't right.
I had a positive impression of Sidney Powell. She was interviewed by Jesse Lee Peterson a few years ago, or several years ago now, because she wrote about, the corrupt feds, FBI, I think, and how they lied. They've lied frequently, and they're not good people. They're not decent people, and they get away with a lot. And Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell, I don't know much about them. I couldn't really say anymore, really. But they're on the side of Trump, and they're being extra smeared because of that. And they may have had their issues. They may not be totally right in what they're doing, the way they're going about it. Mm-hmm. I couldn't say whether they were or not,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wish them well. I hope they handle the persecution, because it is persecution.
Oh man, oh yeah.
Because
the liberals definitely come hard at you, man, and they just keep people deceived. Then they use the public school system, and they use the colleges to keep the young deceived, and keeping everybody divided. That's all they do.
Right. And, it works on some of the best of us, maybe. I remember Tucker Carlson kind of went after Sidney Powell because he tried to interview her and asked what evidence she had or whatever, and she didn't really respond to them, and she kind of got short with, maybe he had like this female producer. I'm speculating, right? But this nagging producer, and she might have snapped at the producer or whatever. But he kind of counter-signaled her and exposed that, and it kind of caused a division. Some people really hated Tucker for that. But I still say Tucker's on the side of what's right, and I overall, and I like him. I appreciate him. I'm not going to just I'm not going to throw him away just because of any disagreement here and there.
Yeah.
Even if it is a pretty serious one. But to me, I don't know.
I didn't think he would be able to fill Bill O'Reilly's shoes. I said, man, he's going to have some big shoes to fill with O'Reilly, man. But he went above the skies, man.
Yeah, he surpassed Bill O'Reilly in certain ways. And I love Bill O'Reilly. I really like him. Man. I mean, there were.
I like Bill O'Reilly. When he went off, now I said, I can't believe these wicked blacks got him off stocks like that.
Well, yeah, it was the blacks and the females. The females were really after him too. But you're right, it was the blacks. There was this particular black organization that hated him. Color of Change, I think, and the radical homosexuals. And Bill O'Reilly, he is a rhino. That's true. He's kind of a rhino. I mean, if he's kind of nonpartisan. I don't think he even says what he is.
He's normally an independent. I think Bill O'Reilly normally calls himself an independent normally.
Right. But, he's for certain things that I'm not for, like raising the minimum wage, and he's light on the immigration stuff and all that. But he's like kind of a simple man in certain ways where he is that, and I appreciate him for that. It seemed like he was better than he was worse, if that's true.
Right, absolutely. He probably had a few things you disagree with him on. And but I love the books he wrote and stuff,
Yeah, I read his book, The United States of Trump, or something like that. And that was very interesting because those are two boomers whom I appreciate on a major level. And I liked hearing about how Trump is. So I'm getting a lot of noise in the background there, Rick.
Yeah, so sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel the same way too. I mean, I miss her. I said, man, I don't know how they going. I don't know how. I bet it's going to lose ratings and everything.
No,
but
Tucker thinks Tucker's more independent thinking, I think, and I really appreciate that. I totally appreciate that.
Let me ask you a question. So would you rather have O'Reilly or you rather have Tucker?
Honestly, Tucker. They shouldn't have done that to O'Reilly. To me,
right.
I think that was evil.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But Tucker really stepped up, man. Solid guy. I like having him there.
Yeah, I like Tucker, too, man. I mean,
yeah.
I thought I had to get, when I first seen Tucker, I said, I don't know about this guy, man. I don't know if he can fill Bill O'Reilly's shoes when I first seen him. But I always have about give people a chance. He may have his own style,
True.
So, man, he came in, man. I mean, like, man, he'd make you forget all about Rowdy, man.
Yeah. Yep.
So, he's doing a good job, man, I think.
Well, I appreciate it, Rick. It's good to hear from you, man.
You too, James. Love you guys, man. Keep up the good work.
All right. Take care.
Yep.
Guys, we are at the end of the show. I hope you enjoyed the Hake Report, this edition. Check out the Church with Jesse Lee Peterson stuff. And look into joining the Bond YouTube channel as a channel supporter so that you can join into the live chat during the Wednesday streams and during the Sunday streams. We cleaned up the snake pit that way. Cleaned it up. That was my decision. Along with other suggestions, of course. I listened to good advice. And so look into that. The Hake Report, I will be updating on any new appearances I may be having or guests I may be having. Hope you enjoyed that guest from last week, Pedro from The Crucible. And shout out to The Crucible. Thanks for hosting me pretty regularly. Gotta go. Thanks, guys, and take care. Bye.